and thank you so much for clicking play. My name's Elizabeth Irungu. You can call me Liz. If it is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking play. If at the end of this video there's something you see or hear that you like, do consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. I am looking to create a community of thinkers for us, a place where we can discuss things openly, philosophically, have food for thought out there, share food for thought, provoke our thoughts, and so on and so forth. Now, today I have my natural hair. My hair is in its natural state. I haven't manipulated it in any way. I just have color on it, but otherwise there's no weave, wig, no chemical relaxer, no extension, nothing. And that's quite timely because I wanted to talk about Afrocentric features, Afrocentric hair, just we as African women, my background in Kenya as pertains to my race and my features as an African woman. Now, when I was growing up in Kenya, I now live in Austria, but I grew up in Kenya, I was born in Kenya, grew up in Kenya, went to school in Kenya, got my first job in Kenya after college. Like most of my life has been lived at home in Kenya. First time living Kenya was in my late 20s. I'm now in my 30s. So when I was still living at home, it's Africa. Kenya is in East Africa, so it's majority black people, and we have tribes in my country, and for the most part we have obviously African features, which include a wider nose, bigger lips, this kind of hair texture for C, for B, for maybe a little bit of for A, but mostly for B, for C hair texture. And you know the drill. You know what the different races look like on Earth. And so it's majority black people in Kenya. As a matter of fact, most people in Kenya are much darker than I am. I was considered somewhere in the middle, and obviously there is people who are much lighter than I am, but that's only complexion. They are still Africans. So there were a few people here and there who were mixed. So they were either half Indian, half Arab, or maybe not even African. They are third generation Arabs in Kenya because of our history with the Omani slave trade and with the Arab traders on the Kenyan coastline. Or maybe they were half Indians or fully Indian, third generation, fourth generation Indians, again because of the history. The British, who are our former colonizers, commissioned the Indians to come and build the railway system in Kenya. So there was Indians there was Arabs there was mixed people there was Swahili, for instance, are a mixture of Arab and Bantu tribes. So they were people who had different features. They had a slimmer nose, they had a different textured hair, you know, silky hair or curly hair. They just did not have the Afro type hair, the coily hair. They didn't have this. They had a different textured hair, and they had a much lighter skin. Basically just a different race, a mixed race. And I remember some of them, not all of them, feeling better than the local Kenyans. I think that self-hatred came from the British. I think that our former colonizers made sure that anyone who was African was programmed to believe that they were inferior in our own land, in our own country. A real tragedy. And I think that kind of ignorance has been passed down generations. And this is why even in my time, the 90s, growing up, there were people who are of mixed race. We call them pointy. Basically, that means 0.5, that they are 0.5 this and 0.5 this, making a whole person. So like half white and half black, we call them pointy. So maybe their parents their mom gave birth with a foreigner, a foreign guy. Maybe he was a tourist, or maybe he was third generation British, generations of former colonizers or whatever. Or maybe they were half Arab, half Indian. They were there in the neighborhoods, even in the hood, where I grew up, just mixed race people. Obviously, it's majority black. Majority of the people look like me, maybe lighter, maybe darker, but Afro, right? Afrocentric. But then there was the few who were mixed race. And I remember them feeling, some of them, again, it's not all of them, some of them felt like they were better than the local Kenyans because they looked different because of their proximity to white features or Caucasian features. In school, they would be Arab kids who would talk in a very condescending way. I remember that vividly. And I went to a school that in my school, there were a lot of Indian kids. It was a private school. And I remember them just having this better than thou approach to the other kids. And of course, as a child, you don't understand it. You're just a kid. You're just happy to be at school. You're just happy to go outside and play with your friends. You don't know that you're black or that you're African. You don't care about such things. But obviously, these kids who cared about that, it came from their parents. It came from what they had at home. That kind of mentality can only come from adults and grown-ups, because kids are just happy to be around one another and to be left to be free and happy and peaceful and playing and laughing and running around. So I remember the first time I actually noticed self-hatred in a woman who looked like me, a much older lady. She must have been in her 20s, and I was like 6 or 7 years old. Was when I visited a friend of my dad, now this specific woman, who had a child with a Korean guy. So her kid was about my age, but the kid was obviously Blasian. When people say Blasian, they mean black and Asian. And I remember that woman, who could be my big sister, her mom was black with Afrocentric features. She had my exact complexion. So I was seeing my older self in her mother, but then her mother had this Blasian kid, this mixed kid. And I remember her telling her kid not to treat me in a very nice way. Don't let her get into your bedroom. Just her kid to show me that she's better than me, even though we were visiting them. Now, we were visiting them with other mixed kids because there's a family member of mine, on my mom's side, who's married to an Arab guy. So the kids are half Arab. So we were with these kids who are half Arab. And the mother made sure that her Blasian kid makes a distinction between me, the Afrocentric kid, the black kid, and the half Arab kids, my cousins. So the mother made sure that I got treated differently, and that these mixed kids interacted more together and were nicer to one another, but that I got ostracized. That was the first time as a kid that I actually noticed that I actually noticed self-hatred. And even as a child, I must have been a pretty smart kid, because I remember thinking that this woman does not like herself because she's an African, she looks exactly like me, and she's having the other kids treat me badly or treat me differently, yet she herself does not look like them. So even as a kid, I was smart enough to realize that I was not the problem. This woman's self-hatred is the problem. And I remember just asking if we could leave, because I was there visiting them and they don't want to play with me. They don't want me to go into her bedroom. They're treating me differently. So obviously, this grown woman who acts like this has been taught over the years to hate herself, maybe not consciously, but subconsciously, through programming. On Kenyan TV, the adverts that we watched were of lighter skinned women, or women with a different textured hair, or just people being presented. The closer they were to Caucasian features, the cuter they were considered. Like, they were considered to be beautiful. So the programming happens on a subconscious level, and then because of like being colonized by the British, you grow up being told ameza mtoi mweupe, katoi kasupu keupe, wachana na huyo mwingine aliza mtoi mweusi akona masikio nyeusi. Like, such comments shape your view of yourself. And that was the first time I had seen such self-hatred. Now, there's a tribe in Kenya called the Somali people. Obviously, you've had the Somali people not only from Somalia, but we also have Kenyan Somalis because we have a history with them. They are also that way. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are very discriminative. And even if they come to this video and deny it, I didn't come up with the word Adon. I didn't come up with the word Jarer. I didn't come up with words such as Garam Garam to describe the Borana people. They have a bunch of racial slurs to like discriminate people who don't have those Somali features. And that runs deep. They actually don't think they're Africans, which is fine. You can be whatever you think you are because of the their history with Arab people. So they tend to think of themselves as more Arab than Africans. Again, this is all taught by the West. The West made sure that the closer you are to them, the farther away you are from being African, the better you are. So I understand where some of this stuff comes from. Now, I got a culture shock when I moved to the West. And white guys are in love with this. Like... When you move to Europe, you will notice as an African woman that the more you have your natural hair, the more attention you get. White guys are not that much. I mean, Europeans. I don't know about white guys in America. I don't know about white guys in Australia and New Zealand. I'm talking about the European continent. France, Italy, here in Austria, next door to us, Germany, Switzerland. They love Afro hair. They are not so much into fake hair, weaves, braids, wigs, and they will tell you, like, you look so different from all the other women that they are accustomed to seeing, the white ladies. You look so good when you have your natural hair. They will tell you that. They love the texture of it, and they love Afrocentric features. You see the people that they put on a pedestal, people like Lupita Nyong'o, people who have a darker skin. You come out here to Europe and you get quite the culture shock. Alek Wak, like, these are the people who they put on a pedestal. They love Afrocentric features. Life will just surprise you like that, because I don't think I've ever gotten hit on as much as I've gotten hit on out here in the West, like in Europe specifically. I don't know, maybe that's a whole other video, a whole other topic as to what fascinates them so much with by us Black women. I can only be brutally honest and state that I was quite surprised. I got quite the culture shock coming out here and realizing that the darker you were, the more fascinating white men found you to be. The more you had your natural hair, the more they tried to talk to you and tried to get your number. I was quite surprised because in Kenya, it's almost the opposite. Black men love women who are much lighter skinned than I am. Women who, like, I would notice that when I had hair extensions, I got more attention back at home in Kenya. When you have like weaves and wigs on, you're going to get more attention than your natural hair. But then you come out here and you realize that European men don't like that. They don't like fake hair as much as, they don't mind it, but they don't like it as much as our natural hair. Again, I'm talking about white men from Europe. I don't know about white men in Australia, New Zealand, America. I don't know about them, but I'm just talking about my experience with white men in Europe, where they hit on you more the more Afrocentric looking you were. So that was quite a culture shock, and I think I'm still processing it. But go to places where you're appreciated, and you will be very much surprised that you are taught to hate your features. And most of it was only because of envy, because your features were unique. Learn to love yourself, queen. You are beautiful just the way God created you. I guess that's just the video I wanted to put out there. Thank you for watching.